180 members of the Meat Industry Employees Union have been sacked from Maitland abattoirs. The dismissals came in the wake of a week-long dispute which went before the Industrial Commission yesterday. Despite Commissioner O'Neill's direction to return to work, the men decided this morning to stage a one-day strike, and the owner, Metro Meats, gave the men their notice.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
An old sand mine on the Central Coast has been given a new lease of life. Montoro Resources has just finished upgrading the mine with the latest computer-controlled equipment. The investment of more than $1.5 million will see sand production double next year. Full details in the Hour of News tonight.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
The marina is the crux of the whole matter. It's valuable foreshore land, it's used in a passive way at the moment, and it's used well, and we want to see it maintained as a passive area.
The residents at Rathmines are concerned about a plan they say is being considered for an area of Rathmines that's been rezoned marina business by Lake Macquarie City Council. They fear that more land may be taken for car parking for the 300-berth marina. Mayor of Lake Macquarie, Jeff Pascoe, says he's annoyed about the accusations that the council is keeping the residents in the dark. He says no plans from the Public Works Department have been submitted to the council, and therefore there's nothing he can tell residents. But Mike Conway from the Rathmines Progress Association is still sceptical.
Although the council tend to continue to say that there are no developers interested, we know simply by the contacts that we have around the place that there are a number interested, at least one. And we didn't even know the Public Works Department were in on the thing until a contact of ours informed us that there were concept plans around drawn for the Public Works Department.
A garbage barge may seem a bit extreme, but it's what the authorities in New York resorted to in a bid to get rid of their waste. Rubbish dumps are a far more common means of disposing of household garbage, a necessary evil in any consumer society. But in the Lower Hunter, these dumps are posing major problems.
Newcastle has disposal capacity for its wastes for the next year or so. Lake Macquarie is probably in a similar position. After that, both of them will want new sites. Port Stephens has pressing problems now. It'll certainly want new sites before very long. Maitland will want a new site in something of the order of 5 years, and Cessnock, of all the councils in the Lower Hunter, is probably the best provided. It has sites for well into the future.
Dr Jim Croft is the chairman of the Board of Environmental Studies at Newcastle University. The board today presented a seminar on garbage disposal in the Lower Hunter. Each council controls the dumping of rubbish in its area. Dr Croft says this results in needless duplication and that councils should consider a joint venture to centralise dumping.
I would like to see a truly regional attitude towards waste disposal. I think it's necessary for councils to put away their parochial instincts and look to coming together to collect waste in some type of joint operation and dispose of it in one large landfill, rather than this current situation where each council does its own thing and operates small waste disposal sites at great cost to local residents.
Newcastle City Council says garbage disposal was the subject of a briefing session this month and that a proposal will be considered at a meeting on the 26th of June.
And it turned out to be a most exciting match indeed. with Central Charleston hanging on to beat South Newcastle 18-16. In a wholehearted effort, the Butcher Boys, now sporting the name of a new sponsor, put it up to the favourites and were in front with just minutes to go by 18-10. But South, not to be outdone, came back to almost get there in the end. The Butcher Boys, many players lifted their games, but the star was representative front row forward Anthony McDonald, who has a bigger future in this game. He is expected to join the Newcastle Knights next year. South still lead from Lakes despite both losing, then Cessnock, then Central and West, then Maitland and Macquarie, with Waratah, North and Curry making up the full complement on a bunched ladder.
The Salvation Army helps thousands of people in the Hunter Valley each year by providing food, shelter and clothing. Specialised care is also available for people fighting drug habits who need a stable environment and support network to help them along the road to recovery. Maintaining these services is costly, and the Salvation Army is gearing up for this year's fundraising drive. Today, the Red Shield Appeal was officially launched at a business lunch. Members of the local business community donated $6,500. Next month, the familiar door knock collectors will call on private homes, once again asking the region to give generously.
The State Rail Authority says fare invaders are costing them millions of dollars a year. Today, ticket examiners manned the exit barriers at Newcastle and Civic stations. Between 6 and 9 this morning during the peak hour rush, the examiners found 5 people, 3 at Newcastle and 2 at Civic without tickets. They now face a maximum fine of $200. In tonight's news at 6, students at Stockton Primary School today got a taste of what it's like to go to school in the outback. The school was linked to the School of the Air in Broken Hill, compliments of the Army.
For all the news, tonight at 6.
The touring team, the National Little Side All-Americans, proved too strong for the young Raiders, but that didn't stop both sides from providing the crowd with some great entertainment. Buster Matheny, who played with the Falcons last year, scored 38 points for the Raiders, with John Garside and Bill Turner also turning in a sizzling performance. Todd Harris scored 26 points for the Americans. Teammate Todd Hopkins scored another 24 points. After 1.5 hours of play, the Americans had thrashed their opponents 120 points to 82. Raiders coach Rod Armstrong said they were blown off the court by a team that was quicker, better drilled and more athletic. But it's the Raymond Terrace Raiders' first time in the State League, and clashes with classy players like the Americans can only help their performance this year.
The idea came to John Farraher when he was stuck behind one of his own vehicles in a traffic snarl. He approached the Hunter and Lower North Coast Tourist Authority's General Manager, Bill Gregson, who jumped at the opportunity. Soon after, the Newcastle Tourist Association decided to follow suit. Each body provided its own artwork, and local sign writer Brian Watson duplicated the designs in larger-than-life size on the rear of the two trucks. The vehicles are on the road 7 days a week throughout Australia, delivering a message it will be hard to miss. Bill Gregson of the Tourist Authority took the opportunity at today's launching to refute claims of disharmony in his organisation.
I think the problem has been in the past that we haven't been seen to be listening to the people in the field. I think that in recent times that is not quite the case. We've in fact had very good discussions with the tourist officers in the other areas and in the region, and I think there's a lot of mutual trust that's been formed. In fact, we're all going down to the Sydney Holiday and Travel Show in June. And all the tourist organisations will be wearing the Hunter sweatshirt to unify the 4 or 5 different areas which are being displayed individually but together.
You're satisfied then with the unity of your organisation?
No, there's room for improvement, there's room for more input from the associations. These people are organising and running tourism in their own areas, and they have to have a say in what we're doing, a much greater say in what we're doing, and I believe that the avenues are much better now for that sort of communication than they ever were before.
Once again this year, the fair is being organised by the Newcastle Central Lions Club. It's hoped somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000 will be raised to support the NBN Telethon. On show are all types of dolls and handicrafts. Detail is the key to good modelling, and with these cars, no detail has been overlooked. A model exhibition wouldn't be the same without the mandatory trains, complete with tunnels and steam. For those high flyers, there are plenty of model planes, some in varying degrees of completion. And for some thrills on the track, the model exhibition even has model racing, a chance for enthusiasts to show not only how good their models look, but how well they run.
The Hostel for Men at Wickham is one of 9 social homes run by the Salvos in the Hunter. Like the Women's Cottage, it provides a sanctuary for the homeless, offering clean accommodation, food and caring supervision. During the day, its dormitories are deserted as residents search for work, but by night, its 22 beds are full. Because of the demand, people must be turned away. While some only require short-term accommodation, occasionally there are cases of extreme need. 2 weeks ago, Salvation Army Captain Max Hale cared for a man whose plight was desperate.
He'd been found camping out and living out since December of last year. He'd been camping under bushes, under sheets of corrugated iron, wherever he could find a spot to keep warm and dry, he'd crawl into it. But the worst thing of the lot was the fact that he'd been surviving by living from garbage cans. The food that had been tossed out from restaurants, the food that had been tossed out from homes, and the bins up the street and that.
Money raised in this month's door knock appeal will be used to maintain the Salvation Army's existing services. The target figure for Newcastle and the Hunter is $895,000.
The long-running dispute over the 2-hectare parcel of land behind the Shell Bay Caravan Park has hotted up considerably. Shire President Roy Taylor has accused the chairman of the board of Harbourside Haven, Bernie Thompson, of an unfortunate misrepresentation of the facts over his assertions that the council has been delaying the proposed $7 million extension to the village. The problem is that both the council and the retirement village want the land. Harbourside Haven says the proposed villa units, hostel, nursing home and daycare centre would provide 50 building jobs and permanent employment for 26 others. It says that with 600 people on their waiting list, the need is obvious and it should be met by this community-run non-profit organisation. The land is owned by the Lands Department and the Hunter District Water Board. The board says it's waiting for the council and the retirement village to sort out their problem and then make an approach to buy. The Lands Office in East Maitland says it's still waiting for a submission from Harbourside Haven before it makes its decision. Councillor Taylor says all this could be solved if the new retirement village was built on council-owned land at Salamander Bay. But Secretary of the Board at Harbourside Haven, Bill King, says the $500,000 price tag is too high.
This village needs to be completed and to care for the people who require the accommodation in this area, and that will mean that we need that extra land to build the villas and build extra nursing home and hostel beds here. We'd be perfectly happy to build another village out there if we can reach an agreement with the council on the price of the land.
Do you think that the council's trying to force you to go to Salamander Bay and buy their land?
I think they might be, yes.
The scientific squad is sifting through the rubble of the 5 shops looking for clues and trying to piece together the events that led to the spectacular blaze. Charred wreckage and bent girders was all that remained of some of the shops. An accountant lost all his records while a coffee lounge and optometrist shop sustained smoke and water damage. The optometrist had only last week moved from another premises in the Esplanade because of another fire. Firemen say it's hard to put an exact figure on the damage, but it would run into tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, in Lehman Street, Cooks Hill, a 3-level weatherboard home was also hit by fire last night. The bottom rear section of the house caught alight just before 9 o'clock. The blaze spread up the wall cavity, but the front section was saved from further damage. No one was home at the time.
In tonight's news, we'll have a report on the first day of the 12th Invitation Master Singles being played at the Halakalani Bowling Club at Budgeport. Some of the best bowlers in the state have lined up for the 3-day tournament.
For all the news,
Join us tonight
at 6.
The $7.7 million Maitland TAFE College at Metford was officially opened today by the Minister for Education, Rod Cavalier. Mr Cavalier said this was a particularly proud day for all those involved in the 101-year history of technical education in Maitland.
For all the news,
Join us tonight
at 6.
Shortly before 10 this morning, workmen unveiled the lights at the corner of Alice Street and City Road, Merriweather. Down came the old stop signs and pedestrian warning signs as the new technology took its place. The corner is renowned in the area as a black spot, and locals say the lights are well overdue. Member for Charlestown, Richard Face, invited one long-time resident to join him in turning the switch, and then they and a contingent from Merriweather Public School marched across the road in safety. Mr Face says the situation at the intersection demanded attention, both for traffic trying to turn onto City Road and for people attempting to cross on foot.
The speed of the vehicles and the concentration of vehicles on that particular stretch of road and people being unable to negotiate in the existing crossing without some sort of signalling.
The cost of the work was $45,000 and included the installation of floodlighting to illuminate the crossing at night.
$218 sides from throughout the Newcastle district have been competing in the Pennants tournament. Today at Belmont in Grade 2, Windale Gateshead defeated National Park 70-42. In Grade 3, Cahaiba 49 defeated Rathmines Memorial 33. And Lemon Tree Passage, number 1 side, downed its number 2 Pennants team 55-48 in Grade 4. At Bullaroo on Tuesday, Charlestown 42 defeated NJC 36 in Grade 1. And in Grade 5, Wallsend 54, Mayfield 48. For the winners in Grades 1 to 4, it means a trip to Sydney now to play in the country pennants. A win there means the opportunity to take out the state pennants.
The dismal weather couldn't stop the hundreds of parents and friends who packed the hall at Tokal Agricultural College. The day is one of the most important in the school's calendar, as the students collect medals and certificates in recognition of the various courses they've completed. A total of 87 graduates received their awards from John Price, the member for Waratah. Advanced certificates went to 28 students, while certificates in agriculture were awarded to 50 graduating students. Tokal College has been teaching courses in agriculture for 22 years, as well as assisting practising farmers with further education. Graduates attending today's ceremony had completed courses which were revised to meet needs in the changing agricultural scene, and those who had excelled received medals struck especially for the occasion.
In tonight's news, Hazel Hawke on the campaign trail. The Prime Minister's wife is spending 2 days touring the Hunter region. This morning she officially opened the Margaret Jerd Learning Centre for Unemployed Youth at Carrington.
For all the news,
join us tonight
at 6.
Lee Morn is known to everyone as one of Newcastle and the Hunter's top sporting authorities. He has been associated with the Newcastle Rugby League for over 20 years, since becoming a referee in the mid-60s. The position with the Knights as marketing manager means he'll be responsible to the board for all marketing, promotion and publicity of the club.
As you may be aware, David, 10 years ago I was the one that resurrected the idea of going into Sydney football. And Michael Hill and myself and other people have been involved for that decade to get us in. We're now in, and when we placed a national advertisement for a marketing manager, several of the board members said, "This is right up your alley, Lee, why don't you put in for it?" So I discussed it with my wife Mary and decided that why not. I've always been a football fanatic. I know I can do the job well. No one's more motivated than me, so I've decided to take the step and be in it.
Lee, will you be staying on at NBN?
Well, it's not been decided yet, but I've spoken to the management at this stage of the game. I hope to be able to do a couple of nights a week on the news maybe, do the sports show maybe, and of course the basketball, which I'm very much involved with, and maybe brought in on a casual basis to do the outside broadcasting like Surf Fest and St George Sports Star of the Year, that sort of thing. So I do hope to remain with my involvement with Channel 3.